Henry Clay Frick is one of the most well-known names from the Gilded Age, but where did he get his beginnings? Hi everyone, Ken here. Welcome to This House. Today we are exploring the mini mansions of Henry Clay Frick in a 3-part series. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next 2 episodes. In 1849, Henry Clay Frick was born in West Overton, Pennsylvania. Though his father had been entirely unsuccessful in his business endeavors, his grandfather, Abraham Overholt, had made a name for the family. Abraham founded the Overholt Whiskey Distillery, which provided his children and grandchildren with a modest but comfortable lifestyle. Henry had always aspired to be wealthy, as he saw his grandfather brushing shoulders with some of the country's most elite. He took all the proper steps to achieve his dreams, including enrolling in college, though he would drop out just 1 year later to start a company with his cousins named the Frick Coke Company. They had devised a simple system for turning coal into coke, using a beehive oven. Coke was used as an additive to steel because it was high in carbon with very few impurities. With the steel industry soaring at this time, there was more demand for their coke than they could supply. Henry contacted his grandfather's friend, Andrew Mellon, and asked him for a small loan. Mellon gave Frick the money he asked for and then bought out his cousin's share of the company. Henry renamed it to H.C. Frick & Company and quickly expanded the business to include coal mines employing over 1,000 workers in Pennsylvania. In just a few short years, he nearly had a monopoly in Pennsylvania as he controlled upwards of 80% of the state's coal output. Now that Henry had become one of the most eligible bachelors in Pennsylvania, he began searching for a wife. He met Adelaide Howard Childs, and the young couple married in 1881. While on their honeymoon in New York City, they met Andrew Carnegie. Henry and Andrew immediately hit it off, forming a business deal for Henry to supply coke to the Carnegie Steel Company. This deal sealed Henry's fate. By signing his contract, he ensured that he would become one of the wealthiest men in American history as the chief of operations at the Carnegie Steel Company. The newlyweds traveled back to Pennsylvania and began searching for their dream house. In 1882, they purchased a stately Italianate-style house known as Homewood. It had been built in 1866 and stood prominently on Pittsburgh's Millionaire's Row. It boasted 11 rooms and sat on 1.5 acres. The Fricks brought in architect Andrew W. Peebles to complete the initial renovations, but had architect Frederick Osterling finish it 10 years later. The result was a high Queen Anne-style house with towers and turrets looking out over its gardens. The grounds included a sprawling greenhouse and a children's playhouse for their daughter Helen Frick. The Fricks named their grand estate Clayton. Coming inside from the front porch, you would pass through a large stone archway and then into a small vestibule with a tile mosaic floor. From here, you would continue through the front door and arrive in the entrance hall. Complete with dark wood paneling and decorated with art and statuary, you would pass through here before being seated in the reception room. Decorated with floral rugs, curtains, and wallpaper, the reception room had enough seats to keep an entire family waiting to be welcomed. The walls were covered in portraits, and in the front-facing window, a bust stood against the daylight on a pedestal. At the other end of the room was a floor-to-ceiling fireplace with a large mirror in its upper mantel reflecting daylight from the window. From here, you could pass into the parlor, complete with ornately carved millwork and layers of wallpaper. Family portraits were hung to either side of the fireplace, flanked by pilasters framing yet another portrait. The dining room was decorated with oversized dark wood furniture. The table sat directly below an electric chandelier. The dining table could be expanded with leaves, and the spare chairs were kept set against the walls on either side of a massive curio cabinet for displaying the Fricks' fine collection of china. At one end of the table was a simple brick fireplace with 2 layers of expansive brick arches. At the other end was a large mural set between wood pilasters decorated with floral relief work. The library contained half-height bookcases with inset glass panels on either side of the marble fireplace. The 2 windows in this room stretched from floor to the coffered ceilings, casting light on the conversational furniture and antique desk. The breakfast room, or the family dining room, was a more intimate space filled with natural light. The chandelier was decorated with hanging plants, centered above freshly picked flowers on the kitchen table. Heading to the second floor, the stair landing sat in a bay window with stained glass panels depicting scenes from nature. The first bedroom we'll see is Helen's bedroom, furnished with 3 separate beds, one for her and one for her governess, with the smallest bed being for her beloved dolls. Also on the second floor, with large rounded windows, was the sitting room. It had multiple desks arranged about the room and was overflowing with leather-bound books. In their son Child's bedroom, a large tile fireplace was surrounded with wood trim. The decor was themed for the hunt, with trophies and swords displayed on every wall. The playroom housed every toy a Victorian-era child could ask for. Set against the windows was a dollhouse where Helen would spend her days playing. In addition to this, there was furniture for her larger dolls, books, and a piano for the children to learn on. There was even a sewing room where Helen could sew with her dolls. The guest bedrooms were every bit as grand, with oversized furniture. The yellow room had striped yellow wallpaper set behind a large painted fireplace. Henry's suite included a sitting room with damask wallpaper below a picture rail. His bed was set to the side of a bay window, with his blankets consisting of simple white linens. Adelaide's suite was more decorated, with heavy fabrics covering the windows. Every surface was covered in family photos and freshly picked flowers. Altogether, it took 11 full-time servants to keep the house running, some of whom stayed and worked for the Fricks for over 40 years. As time went on, Frick and Carnegie felt tension in their business dealings. Wanting to be where the financial action was, Henry leased a portion of the Vanderbilt's Triple Palace, which we covered in a previous video. And by 1905, he had begun planning his vacation home, Eagle Rock, which we will cover in our next video. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss it. Though the family had moved on from their house in Pennsylvania, their daughter Helen mourned her childhood home. The Fricks never sold it, so Helen would visit from time to time. She put dust covers over all the furniture, art, and floors to keep the house in pristine condition. When she was 93 years old in 1981, she returned to the house to live out her last few years. She removed the dust covers and unveiled a perfectly preserved house which had not been touched for the better part of a century. Upon her death in 1984, she willed it, along with millions of dollars, to have the house open to the public as a museum. Today, Clayton can be toured as the Frick Art and Historical Center, which is open to the public. In our next episode, we will be touring Eagle Rock and hearing the next chapter of Frick's story. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss part 2. I would also like to take a moment to say a special thank you to our This House supporters whose names you can see on screen right now. If you would like to see your name on this screen, please consider joining our membership program today. I'll see you next time on This House.